These days we have a multitude of different ways of listening to our music, with audio tech manufacturers constantly striving to bring new designs to the market and get you to cough up your hard-earned cash. But regardless of what type of earbud it is, there is one thing that will make or break how much you enjoy or appreciate it, and that is the fit. And that's especially true for sports earbuds, where you'll be wearing them for long periods of time whilst doing something else at the same time, such as cycling or running. You'll need them to pipe sound into your ear canals as efficiently as possible, whether you're wearing sunglasses, a helmet, both, or neither. With OneOdio's OpenRock X though, that isn't something that you need to worry about. After the success of the OpenRock Pro and S, this is the latest iteration to the brand's OpenRock line. They've got some impressive headline specifications like Bluetooth 5.3 connectivity, multi-point, quick charge and 14.2mm dynamic drivers, but it's their adjustable biaxial design that really makes them stand out and solves the problem we talked about there in the intro. You've got up to 50 degrees adjustment both downwards and outwards, so if you want to wear them a bit looser for everyday use and maximize comfort, not a problem. But if you need to tighten that fit up a little bit more, let's say you're doing some bench work or perhaps some floor work, yoga or Pilates, not a problem, just reposition them and make the adjustments based on your requirements at that time. I cycle around 100 kilometers a week and have been testing the OpenRock X over the last 5 weeks and have found the comfort and stability perfect for those long bike rides, wearing well with both sunglasses and a helmet. I enjoyed using them in the office as well for several reasons. They're lightweight, so most of the time didn't even notice that they were there. I could hear my colleagues and I could make use of the multi-point connectivity, connecting to both my phone and my laptop at the same time and switching between the two seamlessly. The open earbuds that I personally find the most comfortable are the Shox Open Fit Air, and the OpenRock X actually shares some of the best practices from the design, including the thinner ear hook, which results in a little bit less pinch, particularly when you're wearing sunglasses. Whilst I'd consider the OpenRock X a little bit less refined than the Open Fit Air, remember the Shox doesn't have any adjustment on it, so if it doesn't fit you well, that's it, you don't have any room for manoeuvre. Whilst the charge case is rarely a reason for buying a set of earbuds, it can sometimes be the deal breaker that puts you off. I don't think you could say that about the novel design of the OpenRock X case though. Whilst it does fit in the palm of your hand, you wouldn't want to go running with it in your pocket, given it weighs over 90 grams. And whilst the mechanism is quite cool, I would have reservations about how long it'll last in the long run, and you also have to reset the earbuds to their default position if you've made any adjustments to get them back into the case. They're IPX5 water and sweat resistant, giving you more than adequate protection against the elements when you're out and about. But importantly, the design allows me to push the drivers closer to my ear canals so I don't lose volume or the impact from the bass. Now we know that in some instances, such as when you're cycling on the roads, safety comes first and you want to hear your surroundings probably more importantly than your music. But equally, there are some instances where my safety is assured and I just want to hear that bass coming through. When I'm out for a run on the footpath in a built up area, for example, with some open earbuds, it's nigh on impossible to listen to podcasts, let alone hear the bass lines come through in my favourite songs over and above the environmental sounds such as wind and traffic. That's no such issue for the OpenRock X though, whose maximum volume is the highest of any of the sets of sports wearables which I've ever tested. And whilst that is mostly down to the adjustable design, you can eke out a few more dB through a setting in the OpenRock app. Boom mode takes the maximum volume up from around 89 dB to 94 decibels. The safe recommended level for using earbuds is 85 dB, and as someone who's suffered from tinnitus in the past, I am absolutely not advocating listening above that level, particularly to music, for any prolonged period of time. However, having that extra headroom when it comes to the volume is really useful when you're listening to podcasts, for example, where the recorded level is a little bit lower than it should be and you can't max out your volume anymore, when in reality you're at about 70 dB, so having that extra headroom is really useful. OneOdio have included some pretty cool safety features regarding the volume. If you move from that quieter podcast to the next one, which is recorded much louder, you can stop it from blasting through by activating the maximum volume limiter. You can even specify how many decibels 92 for example, as it says here, and it gives you a guideline of how many hours per week you should spend listening at this level in order to retain that safe listening. There's also an overtime wear reminder, and you can set it to shut down after a certain period of time too. And it's not just the volume that benefits from the design, the bass doesn't leak out anywhere near as much as many of its competitors. Compared to the One More S50, the Soundpeats Go Free 2 and the Soundcore AeroFit Pro, the mid-bass in particular is far more impactful. Only the Shock's OpenFit Air with the bass boost preset selected hits deeper, although with not quite as much slam. In a moment you're going to hear a binaural sound test so you can actually hear for yourself what the OpenRock X sounds like. But first, a reminder to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. Every like is helpful in attracting more bigger brands to the channel. That keeps my costs down, and it means that I won't have to put stuff like the longer call samples and binaural ANC and sound tests behind a paywall. A decision that I made a long time ago to ensure that my subscribers in poorer countries still get to continue to have the same experience as everyone else. With open earbuds, you're never going to quite get the immersive experience that you get with IEMs or high-performing TWS. That said, with the OpenRock X, I think OneOdio have got the tuning spot on. We talked about the bass previously, and the mid-bass in particular comes through very full. There's virtually no sub-bass as you would expect, but the mid-bass is done in a very tasteful way in that it doesn't engulf vocals and instruments. Everything still comes through quite musical, and as a result they sound notably less tinny than a lot of their competition, and it never sounds harsh or fatiguing even on high volumes due to those rolled off trebles. The remit when it comes to sound on open ears is slightly different to that of TWS and IEMs in that the most important facets are enough volume so you can hear everything, enough treble but not too much so that it sounds fatiguing, and enough bass that you can feel a bit of punch without it distorting. And the OpenRock X does all of those things whilst also giving you a wide soundstage, adding a festival sort of feel to the audio. Sound is subjective though, you might disagree with me, and if you do, at least you've got the opportunity to change the sound in the app. Relax mode drops a little bit of that mid-bass impact, although for me it just sounds a little bit too thin. Boom mode retains the beefy bass, but it adds a lot of extra splash in the treble. As I said earlier, it's good for podcasts when it gets really noisy outside, but apart from that I wouldn't touch it. You've also got a 7-band custom EQ with ±6 adjustments and a spatial sound option, although all I could hear was maybe 1% extra reverb on the vocals. If you notice the difference, you've got better ears than me. The next reason why you might want to buy these over any other open earbud is the inclusion of physical tactile buttons. The buttons are small and slightly awkwardly placed, but it's still a damn sight better than the alternative. If you've ever tried using touch controls when there's a mixture of rain and sweat on the sensors, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, so kudos for OneOdio for going against this growing trend. As well as the benefit of tactile buttons, you get full media control, including volume, which is controlled by long press, and double and triple tap to cycle through your tracks. Impressively, you've also got some degree of customization of the touch controls. You can even configure one of the gestures to be a physical mute button when you're on a call. The OpenRock X has 4 mics and AI environmental noise reduction, and you're going to hear how effective it is in the following busy indoor and outdoor locations.
Whilst these are sports buds, and the majority of the time you're probably taking calls outdoors with them, there may be some opportunity where you have to use the OpenRock X in a busy indoor scene. That's what we've got here. So if you're in this kind of environment, this is how you can expect the OpenRock X to perform. And this time we're testing the OpenRock X in a busy outdoor scene. As you've seen, lots of people rushing across London Bridge here to get their trains. It's rush hour here in London. And you've got a typical mix of big city sounds, different types of vehicles going by, lots of people walking through here, chatting, talking away, etc. The cyclists making a fair bit of noise as well. If you're going to make a call outdoors, this is how you can expect the OpenRock X to perform. So we're testing the outdoor call quality when you're out for the OneOdio OpenRock X. Obviously you've got the wind noise, which is associated pretty quickly, although I'm not moving that quickly, maybe a little bit quicker than when I'm walking. But you've also got the sounds of a plane coming in, actually, because I'm right next to an airport here in the UK. So the sort of sound doesn't really complicate your call when you're outdoors, and yeah, you need someone to hear you.
When it comes to calls on open ear and air conduction headphones, whilst the bar isn't especially high, I thought that the OpenRock X was definitely amongst the better ones. It handled the standard busy scenes reasonably well, and it was only wind that chopped a little bit off your own voice, but at least it didn't let all of that wind come through, deafening the person on the other end of the call. Battery life from a single charge fell only just short of the advertised 12 hours in my real life tests, putting them only just short of some of the better performing alternatives in this field. The charge case doesn't support wireless charging, there's a USB-C socket on the bottom, and it gives an additional 4 full charge cycles, taking the total playtime to 48 hours. The long single-use playtime plus the ability to switch these off by holding the button down on both sides mean that you don't necessarily have to take that charge case out with you for the day. You can just switch them off and pop them in your pocket when you're not listening to them. If you do though, the quick charge feature will give you an additional 1 hour playtime from 5 minutes in the case. It's always good to see quick charge included, but as far as open earbuds go, this performance is actually pretty average. Clearly a lot of thought has gone into this release, with OneOdio including lots of little features here and there that by themselves aren't necessarily unique, but when you put them together make the OpenRock X a really compelling package. They aren't the only ones that have got their own adjustable ergonomics, but there aren't too many that combine it with physical buttons that you can map within the app, the highest volume I've seen yet on an open ear, minimal bass leakage, a custom EQ plus presets, long battery life, and the loudest Find My Earbuds I think I've ever heard. That said, the OpenRock X don't have it all their own way in that they do still wear slightly bulky, and whilst the call performance is pretty decent, you did lose my voice a little bit in the wind. The charge case is subjective. I like it, but I could imagine some would find it a little bit too heavy. The IPX5 rating means that you won't be able to shower with them, and then there's the cost. £169 is quite expensive even by open ear standards. It's going to price out a lot of buyers, which is a real shame. But if you're one of those people who does have the budget and you struggle to find earbuds that fit you, particularly when you're using them out on the bike or for long runs, then the OpenRock X might just be the one for you. What did you think of the OpenRock X? Do you own the OpenRock X? I'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments in the comments section below. As I said, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. For now, it's ReganCipher signing off.